This morning, my neighbors called me in California at my parents' house. I was out there for a week.
It goes into a lot of areas. Locally, we do education programs that are free to the public. It also goes to promoting school programs and diabetes awareness throughout the year, to our state affiliate for any of their programs.
Thank you very much for that.
I myself have arrested somebody about 30 feet from the back door. I just don't feel this is a good place and a good environment to bring the young people in.
And so we have to try to explain to everybody in the system that we have to be open-minded and try to deal with each claim individually as much as possible.
We have now moved into the second largest powwow in the United States, and we hope that this event will continue to grow and grow and grow and share the wonderful culture that is here with the native Minnesotans and visitors to our state.
About 20 boys and girls ranging in age from 8 to 15 gathered at Wade Stadium this morning to learn from the best the Twin Ports has to offer. The kids gave it their all as Duke's pitching coach Mitch Walensky led them through warm-up exercises.
Yeah. Step, swing kick, balance. Step. There you go. Balance, balance.
Mitch was helped with coaching duties by Duke's pitchers Doug Tegmeyer and Link Mickelson.
Okay, try to keep your chest back so you can balance a little better, all right?
The coaches stressed the importance of warming up before playing the game. They warned that even youngsters get hurt when they play without stretching out. Then they got to the basics of baseball.
But what we're doing here is we're practicing the fundamentals of the game of baseball. Along with that, we're showing them a few other things, flexing exercises, strength exercises, things that they can carry on through all their other sports as well.
From balance exercises to throwing the ball around, the kids worked hard and enjoyed every minute.
My dad thought it would be fun for me to do this, and I said, well, I think it would be fun too. I'd like to learn some batting practice and fielding.
You think you're going to learn it?
I'll try my best.
And try they did. The camp, which costs $60, runs until noon today and tomorrow.
The skills the kids learned and practiced here at today's workshop are important and certainly will help the kids in their future performance. But the thing that was stressed most often here at the camp was not so much the importance of those skills, but the importance of having fun playing the game. At Wade Stadium in Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
and realize that people need help. You know, Dubuque is a little more fortunate.
I think anytime you get any kind of flooding situation or any kind of natural disaster, that's a time when people need help. And I guess whenever that situation comes, then I'm really willing and able to help out people. You never quite know if that could be you in that situation.
In the year that has elapsed since Toxic Tuesday, there has been no change in the volume of hazardous materials that travel through the Northland. According to recent Department of Transportation figures, nearly 2 million tons of hazardous material travel through Minnesota in a year's time, nearly 1.75 million tons in Wisconsin. A closer look at the 3 cars that spilled at the Nemadji River Bridge. Nearly 7,400 carloads of benzene travel the nation's tracks each year, over 9,000 cars of butadiene, and more than 54,000 cars of liquefied petroleum gas. In 1990, the most recent year figures are available, 236 cars of hazardous materials derailed, resulting in 35 spills and 25 evacuations. The Superior spill accounted for the largest spill-related evacuation in U.S. history. At the time of the spill, emergency response officials told us there was no record of what hazardous materials traveled through the area or when.
Do you have anything in this book at all about stuff that moves in by rail?
No. What comes through us, you know, we've asked, you know, and a lot of this, hopefully this transportation study that's going on right now, that's been funded by the federal government, gives us some of that information. Just what's coming through here. At this point, we don't know.
And today, although the railroads have begun to provide general information, little has changed. Emergency planners still don't know what hazardous materials move through the area or where they are.
If that thing falls off X bridge and lands in Y river, we've still got to do a response. And then they say, well, you should be prepared. Well, how do you prepare for the unknown?
In addition, a comprehensive study of hazardous materials transportation was begun last summer, but today is still being collected. Just as on June 30th, 1992, not even the Federal Railroad Authority, the only agency charged with the safety of rail transportation, can tell what hazardous materials are being moved from where to where or when. Even today, Toxic Tuesday could happen all over again. Near Superior, Derek Hines, News 6.
It's a reminder when they were younger and used to have their family picnics, and it's something that they organize and plan. They plan their own menus, they plan the day, they plan the entertainment, and the whole program.
We'd like to have a weekend where nobody loses their life. 4 is not bad. We've had it a lot worse in years past.
Conclude a business deal.
At a news conference in Duluth today, Congressman Jim Oberstar told reporters that today's announcement is a positive step toward Northwest regaining its financial strength. But he says more steps need to be taken before the Airbus maintenance bases in Duluth and Hibbing can ever get off the ground. First, the $900 million concessions package must be ratified by the airline's Teamsters and Machinists unions. Then the company has to restructure its debt and get additional capital investment.
This company will be a stronger airline. It will be in the best position it's been in 5 years. It will be one of the top 4 competitors in the country. And it will be able to meet the conditions set forth in the state law on the bonding for the maintenance facilities.
But some industry analysts say even after taking those steps, the Airbus project will never happen. But Oberstar is confident it will.
They have a moral obligation as well. They committed to those jobs, that investment in northeastern Minnesota, and I expect them to live up to it.
And Oberstar has the political muscle to back up that statement as chairman of the Key House Aviation Subcommittee. Superior may soon host huge special event crowds under a plan to develop Connors Point into a festival grounds. An undeveloped site beneath the Blatnick Bridge is the suggested location, twice the size of Duluth's Bayfront Park. At the Superior City Council meeting Tuesday night, owners of Show Pro Events North asked to lease the land from the city to build the park.
We went down and studied the site, and it has all the criteria we were looking for as far as size and accessibility, and a lot of natural beauty. It's just a beautiful park that is undeveloped right now, and with a little bit of development, it could be a fantastic site.
This is Connors Point, the proposed site for the park. Right now it's completely overgrown, but if the city approves the plan, all of this will be gutted for a park that Superior desperately needs.
It would offer a whole new world of possibilities for new events to come to this area. Similar to an arena operation that acts as a magnet for tourism, conventions, concerts, and events, this new festival park would give Superior a powerful new tool for economic growth.
We need a location to host major music festivals. We don't have that at the present time. The Head of Lakes Fairground is a fine facility, but it's not large enough to host major music festivals.
The question now is, how will existing residents be affected?
Well, I think we need to be awfully concerned about the people who live down in Connors Point. It's a relatively small community, and in last night's meeting we had one resident from down there who's lived down there for some 60 years, and he said that the people down there generally support the concept. One thing that they were not particularly supportive of was the concept of an RV park that is being proposed.
Show Pro Events North would pay for the development of the facility. Several Common Council committees will review the proposal. If it's accepted, construction could begin in the fall. In Superior, Amy Cook, News 6.
To draw conclusions for a region outside of our
and in Minnesota, that multiple tick species seem to be able to transmit this illness, and that it has the potential for having a fatal outcome untreated.
On the blood smear examination, you furthermore give doxycycline or tetracycline, which has a very dramatic improvement. I think virtually all the patients that we know of.
That we all talk about. You bring a company in and you have those specific jobs that you're bringing, but you also have spin-off jobs. Already we have been put in contact with a company who potentially will follow Cirrus to Duluth. But they're with them today, and then I know Alan and Dale have spent a lot of time away from home, and so we thank you for letting them be here during that period of time. We'll introduce others
I toured miles of neighborhoods in Des Moines that remain evacuated. Possessions are piled on the lawns, waiting to be thrown away. Most of these homes will have to be bulldozed because the interior walls are crumbling, or the woodwork is so contaminated by bacteria and waste that the homes have been condemned. Thousands of people are living in shelters, depending on the Red Cross and Salvation Army for everything. Those numbers will certainly grow. Local relief agencies say help is needed now like never before.
More people need to become aware of the need and how they can help, whether it's a roll of toilet paper or some pet food, as we're taking down there today, food, blankets. You know, everything is obviously needed, as you undoubtedly know.
A government aid package is being argued over in Congress, but relief agencies say help is needed now. Duluth Salvation Army and Red Cross report a decline in contributions in recent days. A small shipment of food and supplies left Duluth today.
We will send these materials down to our district headquarters. They will then shuffle it to whichever location needs it the most. So they have a command post at each of those immediate disaster areas, and they'll say, we need material here.
It looked like a volcano had erupted near Taconite Harbor this afternoon, burying a good stretch of Highway 61 under several feet of thick gray mud. Recent heavy rains caused an LTV storage basin containing 30 years of fly ash to give way. The sheer force of the mudslide swept away everything in its path, uprooting trees and washed this semi-trailer over the side of the road, snapping it in two.
I've never seen anything like this. I mean, I've been in this for a number of years, and I've never, ever had a mudslide like this.
We're very grateful that we didn't have a line of traffic, you know, passenger cars, which are lighter and lower in profile. If you'd have had 6 or 8 cars in that 150, 200 yards, it'd have washed them right down and probably gone right over the top, and anybody in there probably never would have made it out. Well, it goes off in Finland. It goes off at Highway 61 and 1. At Finland, up to Finland goes in lanes 7.
The sea of mud carried trees, debris, and coal ash. Minnesota Pollution Control Agency officials say a small amount of the mudslide made its way into Lake Superior, a situation that has some worried.
Our concern is that no more of it gets into the lake, simply because we don't know exactly what it is as far as what might be running off from it. Coal ash does contain some heavy metals, and so our concern would be to keep those out of the lake.
Another concern, 8,000 gallons of oil leaked from a damaged power transformer. MPCA officials joined other environmental assessment teams today to devise a containment plan and to monitor runoff water quality. The situation is under control for the moment, but another round of wet weather could send more of the mudslide into the lake. And what about Cypress North Shore mining? Could a similar mudslide happen there? Officials say no.
Cypress is a completely different type of facility. Their tailings pond is 7 or 8 miles up the shore, or inland, excuse me, inland from the facility, and is a natural basin. This was actually a pile on the hillside.
And while the initial cleanup of the mudslide is moving along, officials say cleanup on an environmental level could take years. In Duluth, Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
crossing paths with cement mixers.
The other question is, this particular use, will it be beneficial to the community, or will it detract? We think it's going to be beneficial because it opens up acres and acres of new accessible waterfront property with some boat slips, with some public access. It beautifies our waterfront. The trade-off is very good from our perspective, and that and a number of other facts have reinforced our decision for the Chamber of Commerce to support it.
You know, we have selected this site and have planned for this site to access the visibility, and this is where I want to first put my money. And I guess there's some reason for the fact that there's a misunderstanding. But basically, if we're correct in our analysis,
I'm big fan, you drive your fan, and you ride with us. Not nothing. Oh, we'll take anything on
if you're ever going to watch this one.
Be in the rainforest doing some projects like planting banana trees and coffee plants, and helping and assist the forest ranger in what he wants us to do. We'll be
Just 5 hours ago, you could still get to Lafayette Park. Cars may have been discouraged, but other travelers were willing to test the high water from the Cedar River.
Here in the last hour, it's probably raised about 5-6 inches. So. But I'm sort of setting the pace. People want to know how deep it is, so.
It didn't last long. Road crews spent the day shutting down one road after another. Across the county, hundreds of roads turned into temporary rivers.
The high water, you know, people come in here 55 or even 65 and hydroplane. And
even police and barricades didn't stop some drivers who insisted on going through. Those looking to AAA for help may find them already busy.
They're calling in extra people that'll have to physically man some of the barricades so these boneheads don't get themselves killed.
While authorities have been taxed, so too have homeowners. Those along Turtle Creek had sandbags ready, but most say the water came so fast, there's no point. Sarah Boss sleeps in the basement of her house.
When I heard my dad come downstairs, and I woke up and I looked down, and there was just water.
What'd you do?
Nothing.
How deep was it?
About a little past my ankles.
Her bedroom is now drying out in the garage. After a summer of flooding, it's now Austin's turn.
And now it's us. Sort of.
It's your turn.
We're in good shape compared to them.
We are proud to have the support of our local veterans organization.
We will instead be attempting, and we feel we will be successful in raising $1.5 to $2 million through private donations from corporations, veteran organizations, and individuals to make this project successful.
Actually, I started negotiating with Murphy 3.5 years ago to start working on some plan in order to have some sort of a rent concession during this time in order to enable me to still run a quality business here.
To create a sense of pride for the kids and get the parents together doing things with their kids. So we hope that families will come out here and enjoy the events together.
For some lucky customer, their next trip to the mall will include an almost endless shopping list. The winner of tonight's shopping spree will have 102.5 minutes to spend $20,000. The catch? They have to shop at least 20 stores in the mall.
Well, now you've got $20,000 to spend, and you got to go to at least 20 stores. Do you think you'd have a hard time spending that money?
I'll put my running shoes on.
And hit every store?
I'd hit everything that's in line.
Most people we talked to today say they're confident they could find a way to spend all the money.
But probably something in jewelry would be nice.
I bet you could spend a lot of that $20,000 at a jewelry store.
Wouldn't take long. Wouldn't take long.
I get all the clothes and shoes. I get video games. I get everything.
It is an opportunity for us to present the culture and the heritage of the Finnish people, and they're coming out in great numbers to either celebrate their heritage, discover their heritage, or rediscover their heritage.
Pinsky also got an endorsement from the DFL on
Those 3 votes will be asked what is their reason for not supporting the street improvements for the city of Duluth. And we're going to ask one of those 3 or all 3 to reconsider their vote at this time.
Third week of September.
Now, hopefully by the time they reach that junior high age, they'll be strong in their knowledge of who they are and be able to go out and face the world in high school much better and survive.
when it gets warm enough for the body's own regulatory mechanisms, meaning that the systems that are there to cool the body down are not working, then people can get into trouble.
For the past 10 years, the Nimiwin Powwow has brought together young and old Native Americans alike to showcase their traditional song and dance in celebration of their rich heritage.
I think a lot of times people don't see the real positive things about the culture, and we like to try to emphasize that to try to bridge the gap between the different the Indian and non-Indian communities.
The Nimiwin Powwow attracts Indians from across the state as well as spectators. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the event. Organizers say it's an indication of just how successful Indians in the Northland have been at adapting to the mainstream while maintaining traditional values.
I think Nimiwin has been a success. It seems to be still surviving. It's real hard to follow your traditional ways and to live in an urban setting, but we seem to be surviving.
Survival organizers say that's dependent on a newfound respect for Native American culture.
I think our children are going to have a greater identity than we've ever had, because it's not suddenly it's okay to be Indian again. We still face racial discrimination and other factors within this community and all around us. But for ourselves now, it is no longer punitive in any way for us to be Indian, and we can take pride in that.
Something she says is essential if the younger generation is to secure a better future in a modern society while maintaining the customs of the past.
Elaine Hansen came from the state auditor's office to Duluth when Arnie Carlson left that office to become governor. Up until then, she was Carlson's number 2, the person who signed off on all audits before Carlson saw them. Minneapolis Star and Tribune allegations that Carlson overlooked pension problems have her mad.
Anytime anyone's integrity and professionalism is attacked, it's difficult. Mr. Carlson obviously is the individual that is being attacked by this article, but it not only affected him, it affected me, it affected all members of that audit staff.
A detailed investigative report in Sunday's Minneapolis Star and Tribune charges Carlson allowed an audit of the Minneapolis Employees Retirement Fund to be softened. That fund later lost millions of dollars amidst confusion and mismanagement. Hansen says the charge that Carlson allowed then Pension Director John Chenoweth to rework the audit is simply a fabrication.
John Chenoweth talked to Mr. Carlson on a number of occasions, and I was never asked to make any changes to any reports because of those conversations.
Hansen says changes that were made to the audit were not made by Carlson and did not result from outside pressure. Carlson stands by his performance as state auditor, pointing out that even the Star and Tribune praised his work.
As recently as October 1990, 2 months before leaving office, and after these audits that they now call soft, they called my efforts, quote, praiseworthy, and heaped laurels on my work all through my term as state auditor.
A legislative panel is taking the charges seriously enough to consider opening its own review. As for political damage to Governor Carlson, that's hard to assess. The very nature of audits is that they are detailed and difficult to understand. The Star and Tribune investigation is also detailed and difficult to understand, with no clear indication the governor did anything wrong. At City Hall in Duluth, Dave Jench, News 6.
Merritt School is closed. Students there will be split between Lincoln and MacArthur West. Some students from MacArthur West could go to Stowe Elementary as well. Meanwhile, the 6th graders from those two schools will attend classes in Morgan Park. Lakeside is closed. Younger students there move to Rock Ridge and Lester Park, while 5th through 8th graders from Lakeside, Congdon, and Lester Park schools will go to Ordine Middle School. Washburn School closes and its students go to Homecroft. Also going to Homecroft will be younger students from the now closed Cobb School. 5th and 6th graders from Cobb and the Chester Park School will stay where they are until January, then move to Woodland School. Renovations there should be completed by the end of the year. Kenwood School has closed. Those students will be moving to Grant Elementary. And in a unique arrangement, Lincoln and Piedmont schools will each have elementary school students, but 7th and 8th graders from both areas will go to Piedmont. Renovations at Lincoln, Grant, and Stowe schools have been completed. Ordine Middle School is nearly done. Students will be there next week because the remaining construction isn't planned to interfere with classes. Meanwhile, the only school renovation that won't be ready, Woodland, is slated for completion in January. When that's accomplished, the change to a new grade configuration for the district will be complete.
I came here for the ribbon cutting, but that's about all. And so it's just been a good investment for me with good management and good people, both at the Miller Hill Mall and downtown in Duluth. And now the Republic Bank here, and then I'm sure we'll be expanding in other parts of the Iron Range.
That, but I would much prefer to have somebody go over the line and get some help or ask for some help rather than sitting back and saying, maybe I'll let it go for a while to see how it goes.
I think by and large, kids are ready to come back to school for opening school. They've had their summer. When we have a warm summer, they're even more eager to come back. But by and large, our kids like to be here.
And it's easy to see why. Teachers here at ESCO High School certainly make the transition from summer to the first day of school very easy for students. Case in point, instead of tackling new math problems, this group is getting a lesson on how to draw cartoons.
Oh, the students think it's great. We've always had a wonderful response from them. They love coming back to school and seeing something other than us just teaching the first day.
It's all part of the school's strategy of getting students excited about the upcoming year. Instead of being welcomed back with armloads of homework, they're treated to a variety of events kids like.
I like it.
How come?
Because we're not doing schoolwork.
But make no mistake about it, these students are learning today because mixed in with the fun activities are seminars and speakers on serious issues teenagers are faced with every day, from domestic abuse to eating disorders to this seminar on chemical abuse. Jeannie Letourneau works with kids who are chemically dependent and knows how important it is to inform kids about the dangers of drugs before it's too late.
Your mission is to go from being a kid to being an adult and learning some things in the process so that you have some coping skills, so that you can live your life and make good decisions.
Maybe they'll find a person that they can go talk to about a problem, and if we can do that for them, we've done part of what we're aiming at.
And teachers here say that by starting sooner rather than later, accomplishing that goal will be a whole lot easier. In ESCO, Amy Rutledge, News 6.
And once a statement by the physician or the clinic that a series has been started will get the child into the school. But then they have to complete that series within 18 months, or the school can again deny their enrollment.
Of things where we do cooperatively, and that we should continue to do more and more of these things, because it just makes sense for us to not worry about the borders between, say, Duluth and Superior and Minnesota and Wisconsin.
And this other piece might help us put together what we need in order to have some programs in our schools for drug awareness, violence prevention, and some police liaison work. So we're going to try to get as much out of it as we can.
Per-year reduction commencing in July of 1995 on the capital equipment sales tax for replacement equipment. This is where our current tax policy punishes employers when they go to replace capital equipment. And ultimately, they have to make a decision. Do we expand? Do we grow? Do we hire new people? Or do we deal with the tax problem? Any other questions? What kind of pressure am I going to live within those confines? Most institutions have to live within those confines. But because we have the power to tax, does not mean that we have utilized that power responsibly. And all we're suggesting here is that the public has a right to decide, do they want to take that power
Two eyes, the chin, and the top of the head.
The average ultrasound costs about $200. Most women have the screening done 2 to 3 times during their pregnancy. But the new study says in normal pregnancies, that's just a waste of money.
One of the strong reasons that women often want an ultrasound is that they have the belief that it will reassure them that their baby is normal. Well, that's not the case.
Doctors say an ultrasound will show in most cases whether a baby has all its body parts, but little else. Researchers studied more than 15,000 women, all healthy and at very low risk for problems. Half had routine ultrasound during pregnancy, half did not. When all had delivered, the outcome on the average was identical for both groups. So for these women, the ultrasound did little but significantly raised the cost of their health care.
Hi, Faith. How are you?
Good.
How's your baby?
Big.
But how willing are patients to give up a test that gives them a picture of a moving, breathing baby?
You have a hard decision in that what are we willing to accept? Do we want, how much degree of certainty do we want, and are we willing to pay for?
Already many insurance companies are refusing to pay for routine ultrasounds, and the experts say many more will soon follow suit. With the ever-increasing squeeze on the nation's healthcare dollar, many see this as a significant way to reduce costs. But the question now is, how much should it cost for peace of mind, and who should pay that bill?
The study isn't going to change procedure overnight, but the reaction in the medical community has been positive, and many think it will eventually reduce the number of costly and unnecessary ultrasounds. At the Duluth Clinic, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Well, 127th Market.
We just want to make sure this is the best program possible. I think it's important that the citizens of Duluth have a comfort level with this, and they want to be assured that there's fairness from all the way from Fond du Lac all the way out to Lakeside.
Men and women alike spoke out at this evening's rally, sharing experiences and denouncing violence against women and children. Linda Castro hopes speaking about her own experience will give courage to other women.
When you're in an abusive relationship, there is a essence of doom around you, but there is help, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
People are revealing their family secrets of violence more than ever, but incidents of abuse are still on the rise.
We are seeing an increase. Part of that, I think, is that people are becoming more sensitive and aware of it's okay to start talking about being raped or to be an incest survivor. But I also believe that part of that is an increase against violence against women in our communities in general.
Men Against Violence Against Women is a group which was formed last year in response to the prevalence of violence in our community.
It's important for us to educate ourselves and then share that information with other men.
Violence against women and children is a nationwide problem, a problem Minnesota is not immune to.
About 60 t-shirts hang here to symbolize and memorialize the women and children who have died during acts of violence in Minnesota from 1992 to the present.
Demonstrators left Bayfront Park after this evening's rally with candles in their hands to march through downtown and take back the night. In Duluth, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
Because they can only eat flying in Central and South America. They have these big clunky wings and they don't want to.
It's because of Lake Superior itself that's stopping them in their migration. They're concentrating here rather than flying over the lake. They turn and funnel down the North Shore through Duluth on their way south.
There's something missing from UWS's Crook Art Gallery, mainly art. Budget cuts have forced the university's art department to close the gallery indefinitely, a move that has created a precarious situation not only for professors but also for art students.
I mean, that's part of being a life of an artist, I think, is showing your artwork. And especially if you're an undergraduate student, it's extremely difficult to exhibit anywhere because you are just starting. And if you don't have an exhibit space, then it's really cutting down on your opportunity to grow as an artist.
And part of life as a UWS art student requires showing your work. Both undergraduate and graduate students must exhibit in order to complete degree requirements. The question now is where.
Yes, we may have to change our philosophy about exhibiting. I don't know. It's a problem anyway, and we're sort of, right now, we're not sure what to do.
Rows of spotlights now only showcase empty gallery walls. It may be a sign of the times. Cutbacks in education are more evident than ever, and some say students and faculty aren't the only ones missing out.
Not only does it give the students and faculty a chance to exhibit, but it also gives the community a chance to come in, view the work, buy some, you know, start their own art collection or whatever. So it's also going to affect the community as well as just the art department.
And for now, the loss of the gallery has left a cultural void in the Northland. In Superior, Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
Campus housing is increased in number of occupants by about 100. And we have 100 additional freshmen on campus. And the university made the commitment this year to find temporary housing for those students until space in our permanent housing became available. Campus housing is increased in number of occupants by about 100. And we have 100 additional freshmen on campus. And the university made the commitment this year to find temporary housing for those students until space in our permanent housing became available.
Was not going to be just a lot of dust created. Just like, I'm sorry, Councilor Connor. Opposed? Motion is carried.
A request for a donation from Catherine Anderson, chairperson of Walkathon for Special Olympics. The event was held at
Unfortunately, Mayor Doty does not want to put his money where his mouth is and come and negotiate a good and fair settlement for the workers of the city of Duluth. So Joe's right. We're going to be at the negotiating table for as long as it takes.
To accrue up to 336 hours, and they can't force you, according to our contract, to take that time off. So I know that.
Looking over the crowd, it's very responsive. When I came here about 7:30 this morning, they were lined up outside, and it's just been a steady stream of people coming in to get coats and clothing, little ones and big ones.
Oh, okay. Everyone does it. You called Patty and she's willing.
I wanted to show my leadership skills, and I also I see too many people that I know in high school that are drinking, and I wanted to pass the word along that you don't have to drink in order to fit in.
The St. Louis County Rescue Squad, U.S. Coast Guard, and then later on we had a Minnesota State Patrol aircraft checking the area. There were some indications that we might have someone else that was missing in the water, and we still haven't solved that. We're not sure. We couldn't find anybody in the area, so the search was called off.
Okay, so when those construction workers looked down, they saw the body then.
Right.
Did they get it out of the water then?
We want to feel things out and force the company's hand, because we feel that we're just not being treated justly. And we're not being offered the same thing the other plants were. And hopefully this sensible attitude will continue and we'll just work it out.
There probably are people who want to strike. I mean, a lot of people don't want to go out and say this is the end of our job because of what happened to the other mines. You know, this is not a good situation.
As far as going through the process now, I think it's important that myself as a new councilor and probably other new councilors here take.
There's nothing we can do about it unless we change the program, the levy situation. Here's the two items that drive the expenditures, and one is that we don't have
are going forward.
Not only the running of the housing authority, but the drug elimination program, the modernization programs. As you can see outside, we have plenty of construction going all the time, and we have to have somebody that's really into the housing program.
Of, you know, the timeline had passed for submitting, and so.
I hope.
Trust me.
I believe so firmly that this hospital will survive because of our community, what the county has done for us, what our auxiliary has done for us, and the various businesses in town have done for us.
Part of this project, or new philosophy, I guess I should say, is being more proactive instead of reactive, getting to the problem first. So if people get to know me, they can call me up and say, Officer Wright, I don't know if you were aware of this, but this is what's been going on, that type of stuff.
To be here today from a very key committee that deals with telephone regulation issues, and Senator Carl filter their social consciousness to appeal to the fact that you have been excellent, productive employees here in Duluth, and that your city and our region cannot take the kind of blow that this would cause, both economically to our region, but to your families as well.
You are part of that hope. You are part of that progress. Because there's been one constant throughout it all, and that's the dedicated women and men, volunteers of the American Cancer Society, whose contributions individually and what they've raised from others have gone into research to support the notion that the mind of
the figures this morning. The size of our freshman class is up. The size of our freshman class went up without. I'm trying to encourage the various consultation groups that we should propose that UMD set a target for itself of increased enrollment, and that the central administration should propose to the legislature funding to absorb that additional enrollment.
Some of that has to do with an increased amount of reporting that's being done, and that reporting is being increased because of awareness within our community, the types of programs that the Women's Coalition is involved in.
We're holding our own as best we can. We've set up a lot of specials, everyday specials that have brought people this way. The local people have come this way more. We see a lot of new faces that we never saw before.
Being driven around the city of Superior and in residences in the city of Superior. And these were sold.
This isn't all of them.
Yeah. I wouldn't know him that day when he was frisked. He didn't. He had this.
Temporary laws to be able to deal with contemporary problems. Isn't that kind of conspiracy?
There is a problem that violence is on an increase, but that it's still controllable, and that if we as a community desire to keep it in control and we unite and make a commitment to solve it, we'll get it solved.
School district is doing a fine job. I think they're doing an outstanding job of staying on top of the problem. I'm comfortable with the school district and the things that they're doing. Ben Canada has been on top of it right from the start.
We have 5 different states represented, and our youngest crafter is 55, and our oldest this year is 89, so we have a good span of ages there.
The prosecution contends Marvin Freeman was angry with his ex-wife for reporting him to the IRS. So angry, he allegedly drove to this Duluth group home from his Twin Cities residence and shot Sherry Cadine twice in the back of the head. Prosecutors say while the defense portrayed Freeman as a businessman, articulate, someone who planned things out well, they did not portray a picture of a man with a hidden dark side. The prosecution says the evidence shows a vengeful man, angry with Cadine, angry enough to get her out of the picture, and willing to take a life. Freeman maintains he was not even in Duluth the night of his ex-wife's murder. Although he had started out for Duluth, he claims car trouble forced him to turn around. Today, the prosecution hammered away at his alibi, questioning Freeman's testimony of how long he was on the road.
prisoners when they're out on parole. And some people have been sentenced to wear these things for a number of years after they're out of prison. Ironically, the owners, you either get rid of them or by that law, we pay microphone.
Yeah, that's right.
The money has to be made available to smaller communities, not just the larger cities in the state, but some of the smaller communities like Superior and like some of the rural areas even that have these gang violence problems.
You make a big mistake when you assume that the director reduction in mortality from disease strategies now. Thus, we are embarking.
Doctor in a box.
Sure. Yeah. In the East Coast, the clinic model is virtually non. Because we know that prostate cancer might run in certain families, that a man helps himself, but may also help subsequent generations in his family by trying to answer this question.
Bi-national program of Canada and the United States about the future of all of the volunteers. Very exciting. I didn't tell you that. Kate will be spending. There are very few colleges that that have attempted, as we have, to infuse a concern for the environment throughout the curriculum, and that's why we were picked as a model.
Months of preparations were needed to make the 28th season of the Icecapades come alive. Costume and set designing, musical composition, and skating practice are all shown off once the lights are up and the performance begins. But much more goes into the show. Part of it is setting up a complicated network of lighting which hangs over the ice.
Being this was their first stop for this company, it was a, it was a week's worth of work. A lot of hours.
From the sound mixing to hundreds of lighting cues to the special effects, much of what you see going on out on the ice is controlled from this booth right here.
You have to work in touch with what the scenic designers come up with. You have to work in with what the choreographers are doing. And we make changes almost every show.
The spotlight operators are giving cues over their headsets and follow the skaters as they glide across the ice.
In addition to lighting the performers and making them visible, you get to interpret the show and the music by the colors you use. It brings out a lot more emotion than just plain white light ever could.
When the lights go out after the last performance, it's time to pack up.
We have to back up 4 40-foot semi-trailers and start taking everything apart. It's going to take about 50 men, 4 hours to disassemble everything and load it.
The next stop for the Icecapades is Madison. They'll be touring throughout North America until the end of March. In Duluth, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
And then kind of tell them where you are and what kind of help we need. Running and no pushing. We go all one row at a time, just like window. Or we could use these side windows and push open. Here's a first aid kit. We would take that with us. I would grab that. And the fire extinguisher is here on the floor.
Now, switching gears, National Steel, big story last night.
Terrible tragedy, absolute tragedy. You know, it's so easy to lose jobs, and it's so hard to create them. And I told the company that I really hope that this does not permanently close the plant, that we're very receptive to reopening talks. If there's any possibility, for heaven's sakes, let us know, and we'll be as cooperative and as helpful as we possibly can.
What's your gut instinct, though? You've been watching it very closely.
Well, they're going to buy on the spot market, and I know the price is fairly low on the spot market right now. The good news is that they have not announced a permanent closing, so there's still a sliver of hope, but I don't want to raise any...
Our portfolio is being used or planned to be used.
And it involves the process of coming together of community members and the school agreeing.
This is a monologue, right? We are answering your questions.
I'd like to know that myself.
Okay, you want to write that question down? We'll get to it soon.
I'd like an answer. That's what we're talking about. All I've heard was rhetoric. I don't know what any of you said outside of anything that...
We're going to try.
The domestic abuse intervention program, counselor.
Child has 5 basic needs.
Thank you for the problems we're having recently in our community, in our nation, is fear. Everybody that lives in the city, anywhere in this country, is afraid. They're afraid of what they're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what they're experiencing on TV. They're afraid of what they're experiencing in reality in their neighborhoods, their kids in their schools, and just on their streets.
Patriarchal society, the victim is always blamed.
Is that I think I have a serious problem with racism.
Are your experts, are your formerly battered women? We've been through it. I am a survivor. If I can survive 11 hours of being beat by a farm shovel, then I think that I am here today to help teach you how to help other battered women.
Discovered a dismembered body in this wooded area about 7 miles north of 2 harbors. It's believed to be the remains of 30.
The charges were brought forth by the county attorney who analyzed everything that we brought to him. But because Mr. Nordahl was the last person to see her alive, and he has admitted to removing the body from the restaurant,
Blank stares and shaking heads of confusion fill the town of 2 Harbors as people are still reeling from the brutal death of a waitress at the local waterfront restaurant. Thursday night, a hunter and his 2 sons found what police believe are the human remains of Christine Thomason. Court records state the 32-year-old woman's body was cut into more than 50 pieces and that a leg, a foot, brain material, and other body parts were found about 7 miles north of 2 Harbors. Town residents are deeply stunned.
I don't know, but the only thing I can say is that we are shocked about it.
Oh, it's a mess. I don't know. There'll be a lot more investigating yet, I think, anyway.
Charges have been changed from interfering with a dead body to intentional but not premeditated second-degree murder. The suspect, Arthur Nordahl, is being held on a bail of $400,000. But so far, he is only admitting to dumping her dead body after she accidentally fell.
And we are just now trying to link all the evidence together. And because of the circumstances with the body being moved in the dismemberment, the Lake County Attorney believed that we had probable cause to charge for the second-degree murder.
And while authorities try to establish their case against Nordahl, local residents are left to deal with the harsh reality of a dead mother and 2 small children left behind in the close community they call home.
It's so brutal. It's like, you know, you don't even expect anything like this in a big city. It's, I got a little girl, and I don't even let her really walk the streets down here anymore because of, it's just, I'm not saying it's a conscious reaction, it's subconscious, just knowing that this happened. It's scary.
Holiday shopping has already begun. Merchants in the area report seeing an increase in shoppers, and their shelves are already stocked with all the hot Christmas sales items. Every year, as people get carried away with the holiday spirit, many end up spending more money than they can afford, a situation Virginia Pasqualucci knows all too well.
I've always thought if there are checks in the checkbook, there must be money in the account. So if I wanted something, I wrote a check. It was that simple. Not so simple now.
Virginia ended up with huge debts, which she couldn't pay. But it doesn't have to happen. Financial consultants say they can help consumers like Virginia distinguish between wants and needs.
We like to think in terms of a spending plan rather than in terms of a budget. A budget speaks to deprivation, and people often think budget is a 4-letter word.
Lutheran Social Services of Duluth kicks off a new program this month called Be Money Wise, which teaches the importance of smart money management.
It's easy to overspend as we come into the holidays and to maybe not be aware of how much we owe.
Financial experts say the holiday season is a time when consumer scams are rampant, and they say people in financial difficulty can be particularly vulnerable. Consumers say through education, they can help people avoid the pitfalls this holiday season, providing tools that will help them make wise money decisions and helping to keep the holidays happy during and after. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
You copied the 3 complaints.
Sometimes our hands are a little bit tied in the juvenile court system, but if kids are doing crimes at the age of 16 and 17 that are no different than what 18 and above are doing, they're going to face the same consequences. And if a few have to go to prison or a long, long jail sentence to get the message out to the rest of the kids, that's what we're going to do.
Bring up Larry Hutchinson's contract to city officials, and the reaction is generally the same: no comment. Hutchinson continues to be the highest paid city employee, the one who was recently given a $17,000 pay raise to a base of just under $74,000, an incentive plan for another $10,000, a retirement annuity of $7,500, and auto allowance of $4,200.
I can't justify somebody like Mr. Hutchinson making this kind of salary, which to me is obscene, in the city of Duluth.
Bowman said she had to wait over 2 months to get a copy of the Hutchinson contract. Other counselors still haven't seen it. In Duluth, Derek Hines, News 6.
They'll have the run of the upstairs, the apartment, and they'll feel free whenever they wish to come down into the retail part of the pet store, which I'm sure they'll spend a lot of time in because they are accustomed to a lot of people visiting them and stuff. Well, they got many rooms.
I'm really happy about this, Lee. You know, I'm just happy. I'm so glad you're getting them.
I'm glad it's working out too.
I think it helps. I don't think it's enough to really help people change their behavior, but it's enough to get them thinking about it, you know, and at least finding out where they can get more information.
We're asking, you know, what do you not have now that you need? How would you like things to be in the future if you could create the ideal situation for yourself or your family member? What would it be? And finally, what are your suggestions for getting there? What are the barriers that are preventing that from happening now?
It took some time to identify from eyewitness reports what people had seen, what people had suspected, and do some azimuth the shooting on the maps and plot it out to an identified area where we could start working in.
The vaguest idea. I'm really disappointed that they're closing because not all of us like those big self-service grocery stores.
The DWI was still the #1 problem facing us on the highways. It was the thing that people were most fearful of when they drove their vehicles.
This morning, I very much appreciate their presence. In one brief presentation on any one of your newscasts, you reach more people than we'll reach in public speeches in an entire year.
Together, and we'll try to get some press. I think so too.
Make it track, keep the track, come up with it. Oh, we do. Oh, okay. I guess I didn't.
There's a lot of items that are maybe around the turn of the century, and then, well, most of the items were primitive in nature, and they wanted to keep with like a 1917 era of the film.
Here is the population most at risk: young people, college-aged, sexually active. Every day, 14 Americans die from hepatitis B, and every year, some 300,000 more are infected. The experts say the disease has become so common that about 1 in every 200 people now carries the virus. And the really scary part is, it's 100 times more contagious than AIDS.
5 months after I graduated from college, I contracted a virus, fell into a coma, and was given 24 hours to live. Luckily, a donor liver was found and I was transplanted. But within 2 years, the virus reinfected my liver and I required a second liver transplant. I still have the virus and probably will for the rest of my life.
This is a clip from a video that the UMD Health Service shows to as many students as will watch it. Hepatitis B is considered a sexually transmitted disease because it's spread much the same way as AIDS and other STDs.
It's transmitted through bodily fluids: blood, semen, saliva, vaginal fluids.
About a third of those who have the virus have no symptoms and so don't know they're infected. Many of them continue to spread the deadly disease. Symptoms range from nothing to skin rashes and stomach upsets, all the way to liver cancer and eventually death. But health officials want people to know they don't have to become victims. There is a safe and simple vaccine. People need to get a series of 3 shots over a period of 6 months. After that, you're safe, and so are your friends. Health officials recommend children be immunized at as early an age as possible. The first hepatitis B shot is now offered to most newborns at Minnesota hospitals. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
I can't afford another trespassing. I got $5,000 bail and a restraining order to stay away from Mr. Hill and Mr. Meyer. And if they walk onto the farm, my is in jail for $5,000.
Mark Doofman is a cattle farmer near Mizpah in rural northern Minnesota.
He's paranoid because he was recently arrested for aggravated assault. Thomas Held, a hunter from Sartell, says Doofman shot past his ear and over the head of another hunter, Richard Meyer. Doofman says that's not true.
I was shooting at a deer, and I suppose in that thin brush, the bullets were winding around. And that's why I've told these people, when you get onto my place, I don't know who shoots at what, but we're going to be shooting at each other.
These people are making charges that you shot at them, that you were warning shots at these people, shooting over their head. Is not true.
No.
Hi, Mark. We're standing near the area where Mr. Held said you shot right past his ear. Is that true?
Well, I was close enough to him, just like you and me. I'd had to take a couple steps back to do it.
Did you back up and shoot at him?
No.
The incident took place on November the 6th. 10 years to the day, George Yantz, another cattle farmer, chased 2 deer hunters off his property while shooting over their heads. He spent 2 years in prison. The mandatory minimum prison sentence for assault with a firearm is 36 months.
Are you afraid that may happen?
The potential is always there.
Doofman hopes he can win in court. Formal charges will be filed this week by the Koochiching County Attorney. Reporting from near Mizpah, Chip Wallace, News 6. 3, 2, 1. Reporting from near Mizpah, Chip Wallace, Care 11. 3, 2, 1. Reporting from near Mizpah, Minnesota, Chip Wallace for NBC News.
It's quite a while. That's the way, we argue a lot. Okay, this is what we've decided up to this point on the Lotus chapter after talking to the students and the faculty and those kind of things. Okay. Okay, so we can just give you these.
And he's going to go right in with the text.
So it's been very successful. We've been nationally recognized with some awards, things like that, and it makes us some money too, about $1,000 a year.
The deaths of 3 Iron Range men at an old explosives plant near Aurora has turned into finger-pointing accusation and blame. Property owners Viking Explosives says the crew killed did not work for the company they contracted to do the job. Viking hired Ascon, yet J.J. Home Salvage Company did the work. Viking says the decision was out of their hands.
From Viking standpoint, Ascon was seen as reputable, had the full faith of the Viking company, and from their perspective, Ascon is responsible, at least in part, for what went on here yesterday or the day before.
Viking maintains they were not aware of chemicals on the site. Local authorities believe ammonium nitrate from 10 years ago was ignited by the young men's cutting torches as they dismantled the silo. Today, the mother of Ricky Wirtz, one of the men killed, told News 6 her son did not have training in handling explosives. She also said the men were told the site had been inspected and there was nothing to worry about.
Viking was led to believe that the site was clean by somebody. That is at least what Vikings indicated to me, that the site was clean and ready to be taken down. And obviously with the blast, there must have been some miscommunication or some misunderstanding between Viking and its contractors.
Just where the breakdown in communication occurred is still unclear. What is clear is the tragedy has sparked a new awareness, a number of questions about the regulations and responsibilities of those handling explosives. Amy Rutledge, News 6.
$5 certificate.
This is not exactly the great American money giveaway.
$4. 5.
Nor is it the remake of Pennies from Heaven. It's a grand opening stunt for the La Couture Casino in Hayward, Wisconsin. The new 35,000 square foot gambling center costs just under $8 million, employs over 300 workers, of which 90% are Native Americans.
Well, with the profits we get right now, we go into land purchase, education, economic development, and that's about it. Education. There's 4 things. Education. We want to educate our people.
The casino, with its authentic murals overlooking the gambling floor, is completely owned and operated by the La Couture tribe, which is a part of the Ojibwe Indian Nation.
No, it's managed by the tribe, but we did hire a manager.
Who's also a part of the tribe?
No, he's not from the tribe. We had some problems because we have to pay him more than we do, but he's worth it. He does a good job for us.
How much do you pay him?
I wouldn't want to say that right now.
I went back to Turkey. I was in charge in the 7 casinos.
48-year-old Faisal Yor, an original from Istanbul, Turkey, manages the La Couture.
The casino industry, wherever you look at it, is same. I do not see anything is different besides the size.
Unlike other casinos in the area and its counterparts in Las Vegas, the La Couture does not serve alcoholic beverages. Now, this is the decision made by the tribe, not the state of Wisconsin.
I think it's fine. I think it's wonderful they don't. I do just as well without alcohol.
So how's your luck today?
Well, I'm ahead a few dollars right now.
You're ahead of...
I've been playing it a long time.
I put it all in, but I got it all back. That's it.
Oh, I got a winner.
Not everyone came to gamble. This man seemed to be enjoying himself people watching. Reporting from the La Couture in Hayward, Wisconsin, Chip Wallace, News 6.
Well, I'm sure everyone feels pretty much the same as I do, that you're just helpless. There's really no one to help, nothing we could do. And it's just terrible the way it ended up being the way it was.
Many emotions are just now beginning to surface for emergency crew workers who responded to Minnesota's deadliest plane crash. Now that the National Transportation Safety Board has taken control of the investigation, local emergency crews have had a chance to stop and reflect on the trauma they have just experienced.
It was difficult to go from the scene and see the trauma that we saw and then come down to a scene where you're seeing an emotional trauma visited on the relatives.
The fear of post-traumatic stress has prompted authorities to hold a critical incident stress debriefing tonight at the Mesabi Regional Medical Center. It's a chance for those who witnessed the horror of the crash firsthand to share their stories and emotions.
There's hospital staff there, and there's pure people that come in as counselors so that everybody can express their feelings with their peers, and if they need any help to get all these emotions out, that's the time to do it.
And while the challenge of dealing with the tragedy lies before many of the local emergency crew workers, they can find strength among each other.
I think we did the best job under the circumstances that we could possibly do. I'm proud to know the guys that I work with.
Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
On Friday, November 19th, around 7:30 at night, two armed robbers kicked in the back door of a home on the Jean Duluth Road. They forced the family onto the floor, covered their head with jackets, and tied them up. The crooks were both white males dressed in dark clothes and ski masks. The older man may have been in his 40s and did most of the talking. His partner was in his 20s and acted nervous. The robbers searched the house for about a half an hour and stole some cash and 2 watches. Police determined that the robber's car was parked on the Jean Duluth Road between the West Tisher and Strand roads. Do you know who these men are? Did you see any strange activity on the Jean Duluth Road that night? Crime Stoppers could pay you up to $1,000 and no one will find out who you are. Call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
The end of the season rush has been more of a crawl this year, with one Iron Range taconite mine shut down perhaps permanently, and extended season shutdowns at other mines. There's been a significant decline in taconite tonnage. But that's not the only bad news. All 3 of the port's main commodities are down this year, including grain and coal.
When we have significant tonnage losses during the season that cannot be made up in the latter part of the year, it has a definite economic impact on the entire region, and in this year it will not be a positive one.
The average economic impact on the region from the shipping industry is about $250 million a year. The experts say that will see a definite decline this season. While the overall season has been poor, there is one bright spot. Longshoremen say, compared to past years, they've seen a pretty good year.
Great this fall. It's been a lot better than it has been in the past few years.
Yeah. There's been more general cargo shipments this year than there has been in many years. Packaged cargo, like these dried beans bound for Algeria, is labor-intensive, meaning a lot of jobs on the waterfront. And officials say the Twin Ports may be getting a lot more of the lucrative general cargo next year. The U.S. House has approved a bill that will make it easier for Great Lakes ports to compete on a national scale. Port officials hope the Senate will approve the bill as well. The 1993 shipping season isn't quite over yet in the Twin Ports, but the experts say even if we ended up with a record-setting end of the season rush, it couldn't come close to making up for the dismal year we've seen so far. On the waterfront in Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Off the ground, so that in order for any procedure to be done, you had to be bending over almost.
The building ended up being a big building, and they were chasing a lot of fire around in the building and the walls.
Inside the walls?
Yes.
Those are difficult to get at. Were you able
A lot of work.
Looked outside my door and saw smoke, grabbed my shoes and my jacket, ran out. You know, and then the fire department came a few minutes later, and everybody pretty much came outside, and then they brought a few people out.
We did have a small incident yesterday when the bridge was brought down. It was going out of balance, or it was skewing by, I was told, by about 8 inches.
City engineer Dick Larson, on a conference call in his office today, told an engineering consultant about a problem that caused a traffic wait of about 45 minutes Sunday. Despite a concerted effort to find out what's causing bridge problems, engineers and operators are still at a loss. Each time they raise and lower the structure these days, they hold their breath, hoping it will function as it should.
The bridge is being operated at a much slower speed, which allows the operator to intervene manually in case the bridge does get out of balance.
Since the November 22nd episode in which the bridge was stuck for 4 hours, many hours have been spent trying to find out where the problem lies. A mechanical engineer from Philadelphia didn't find the root of the trouble. Now an electrical engineer from New Jersey is coming this week to try his hand at identifying the problem. Other engineers from Plymouth, Minnesota are on standby.
I can see where we can make some definite improvements and simplify that circuitry for one thing.
Larson says experts are being called in because they have high-tech diagnostic equipment and the necessary expertise for identifying the problem. Most of the bridge's parts are new, including its state-of-the-art computer. The entire structure was completely overhauled in 1985 at a cost of $5.5 million. But the experts say its circuitry is so complex and its parts so many that finding an intermittent problem such as the one that's plaguing the structure is like finding a needle in a haystack. Operators are hoping the root of the problem will be identified soon so that repairs can be completed during the down season. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
We do not want an outlet mall on the Bayfront site. I don't know how much more clearly we can say it than that. This mall continues to go forward.
Of John Dasberg. He basically is committing Northwest Airlines to build some kind of a maintenance facility. How large, how expensive, and what the employee level will be was not discussed. Let's see what Northwest Airlines comes back with first before we comment on whether or not we like the proposal or dislike the proposal.
The most professional engineering way of handling care for bridges is you obviously maintain them through their life cycle, you follow the life cycle maintenance, and then you ultimately replace them in an orderly fashion. It's the cheapest and best way to handle those kind of problems.
Guiding anglers is about the sole source of income for the 300 Ojibwe members of the isolated Lac La Croix First Nation. Situated just north of the Boundary Waters canoe area, the reservation was devastated by the 1978 wilderness motor restrictions. For 15 years, they have begged both governments for help.
Our heritage does not allow us to destroy anything in nature. And we feel at times that, well, we know that we're being punished for something that we didn't do.
Talks with Ontario have resulted in a breakthrough for the band, a tentative agreement to co-manage the western third of Quetico Provincial Park. Included in the zone are key border lakes of Crooked and Basswood, as well as a number of Quetico lakes heavily used by American canoe travelers. Co-management includes use of motorboats and even float planes to allow the guides to operate. Specific details are to be worked out by the Ministry of Natural Resources. Groups favoring non-motorized use are outraged.
Well, I guess initially it was shocked that it came through the way it did. We had assumed and understood that there was going to be some more public input opportunities.
The band and the Ministry of Natural Resources will decide which lakes will be motorized each year. Motors would eventually be phased out once band members were able to develop economic self-sufficiency.
They'd opened it up so much and seemed to be relying so heavily still on the economic benefits that they see of the motorized guiding, as opposed to really pushing some of the other economic opportunities.
Other opportunities include an interpretive center, joint management of the park, and a park entry point on the reservation. U.S. officials are keeping quiet about the plan for now, partly because it hasn't been approved, and partly because details are so sketchy. Approval is expected by the provincial government sometime in January. Specific details of which lakes will be affected and for how long will have to wait until co-management talks begin sometime after that. In Duluth, Dave Chench, News 6.
On Friday, November 19th, around 7:30 at night, two armed robbers kicked in the back door of a home on the Jean Duluth Road. They forced the family onto the floor, covered their head with jackets, and tied them up.
Our cameras were on the scene the night of the robbery, and the home on Jean Duluth was added to the list of 3 million homes burglarized each year in this country, amounting to a total loss to homeowners of an estimated $3 billion. The home did not have an alarm system to alert its residents or police. 93% of all homes don't.
The goals for our crime prevention presentation this evening are to increase your awareness of the crime issues that exist in Duluth.
Sessions like this one in Duluth are bringing together victims of crime to alert them to products that can help protect their home, vehicle, and personal safety. The company this night is part of the burgeoning electronic gadget industry, soliciting people based on their fears for their safety, as evidenced by this training videotape.
Use and defend against break-ins or robberies. A weapon can have fatal results, but you may be the victim.
Nationally, there are 10,000 firms selling security devices of all types. Sales are expected to hit over $2.75 billion this year. Much of their marketing for personal safety is aimed at women who fear they may someday be a rape victim.
If someone's coming after you, you pull the pin on this, they're not coming after you anymore.
While it may not be that simple, most of these security companies thrive on the message that life is too short to live in fear and paranoia. With their recent success, the message seems to be getting across loud and clear. In Duluth, Duke Skorich, News 6. In Duluth, Minnesota, I'm Duke Skorich for NBC News.
They didn't have enough help to put on any kind of a dinner on Christmas Day. And a lot of Jewish people who aren't observing the holiday as a sacred holiday are looking for something to do. And so it just fits together.
And we have gifts of
warm socks and mittens and hats to give out to everyone, and hygiene bags. And then we have toys for the children.